men as a customer segment is largely underserved and is screaming for a solution.
There's a lot of anxiety and confusion.
यार तू तो टकला हो रहा है.
But this has to change. These are consumers, these are not patients in a hospital.
Solving this for the entire country, now that's a massive challenge.
Gummies was a new concept for India.
What were the measures we took to ensure that it's safe and effective as well? How do we ensure that these are the best in the world?
We will make the gummy completely natural. We will not add any sugars to it.
If you look up studies, there are studies out there which actually explain how bioavailability of vitamins in the gummy format is actually extremely high.
Saying that a dermat has approved the formulation, a dermat is overseeing the entire process.
I think we are the only product, I would say, in the market which has done a gold standard clinical study. Every month we took pictures of their scalp. What we found at the end of it, we realized that if there are 100 strands which are falling on day 0, the strands were reduced to 50 or 48.
When you're in the early stages of hair fall, it's easy to ignore it because you still have hair. Ironically, it's also the best time to do something about it. So I wanted to understand, how do we solve this problem for the entire country? People have seen fantastic results and we've heard some heartwarming stories, and that's a massive achievement. So I sat down with our co-founder, Dhyanesh Shah, to understand how MM started. You are the co-founder of Mosaic Wellness, and you and Revant were the ones who started this out. Take us through the thought process of wanting to solve for men's wellness.
End of 2019, we started the company and we launched operations somewhere in mid of 2020, just around the time COVID happened. I think the thought behind what we were trying to do is we were very clear when it comes to elective health problems. And what I mean by elective is health problems which you see, you perceive, you know these are there, they are impacting you, but they're not going to kill you. They're not going to significantly debilitate your quality of life. How is it that Indians can get solutions for those? I don't think the right solve for that is going to a hospital and spending half the day doing that and not getting any support. It was very clear that we need to provide a convenient solve. We need to provide a solve which treats the customer as a consumer and not as a patient in a hospital. I think we were also quite surprised how underserved men as a segment is. I think historically people talk about health for women, people talk about health for children. Men's health somehow is not talked about because it's just considered the non-macho thing to do. But hey, medically men have as many problems or more as any other segment for that matter. With us, both of us being men, I think we also had our own experiences which pointed to that. So thought was, let's cater to this segment. There were very clearly large problems that were visible when you look at people around us. And that was the genesis with which we started about 5 years ago in trying to solve for men's elective health using Man Matters.
What we realized is nobody is understanding men and their issues internally, what they are going through, and therefore nobody is building and solving for men who understand them emotionally, what's going on inside them, because a lot of things that are happening with you outside are a manifestation of what you're going through internally.
Can you take us through what emotionally it feels to be in that situation?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of anxiety and confusion when it comes to things like these, right? Because you know it's happening with you, but you think it's not serious enough, so you don't take serious enough actions. And especially for men, it's like, as long as my body is functioning, I'm okay. I'll only, let's say, go to a doctor or to an expert. But at the back of your mind, it constantly keeps hitting you, right? When I was dating, I used to go out on dates and I used to be very conscious of how my hair looks, and I could see that I have receding hairlines, so I'll comb my hair in a different way. Google Photos throws up these old images, right? Like 5 years ago, this is how you used to look. And the only thing that I used to look at was, this is how my hair was 5 years back and this is how my hair is now. So yeah, it constantly makes you anxious. It's constantly playing on your mind, but you don't even know what to do about it. So you feel helpless, you feel anxious. So it's just a very bad vicious cycle.
And especially men, they don't tend to talk about these problems with each other.
Yeah.
Especially the whole facade कि नहीं भाई मैं मर्द हूँ, मैं अपनी बात नहीं बताऊँगा, मैं एकदम ठीक हूँ. This leads to not taking help, not seeking out to experts who can actually solve this problem for you, completely dismissing that nothing can happen about this, I just need to live my life this way. And that must have been most of the consumers when we first tried to target them, right? When we first tried to solve this problem, I can imagine it would have been so difficult to get people to start using this. What are the ways in which we first found our first adopters, the people who took that first leap of faith to be like, yeah, okay, let's try this out, let's try to do something about this?
Yeah, I think we realized that hair fall internally is a very serious problem, but as men we externally don't give it a lot of importance, right? Taking tablets or pills meant that something is wrong with me, or I'm sick, which is why I'm taking tablets. So a lot of people didn't adopt to a lot of early prevention measures like biotin tablets or tablets that contain multivitamins which are good for your hair.
So how do you deliver this benefit while the consumer is having a great time? He said, let's do away with these pills. But if we have to, what do we do instead? And we explored multiple form factors, and we don't do only gummies, we do various other form factors also. We do chocolates, we do effervescent tablets, and so on. The thought was, we have to make this fun and engaging. I think gummies really stood out for us for a few reasons. First is, if you look up studies, there are studies out there which actually explain how bioavailability of vitamins in the gummy format is actually extremely high, even higher than tablets in some cases. So we had a good form factor for delivering this product. Second is, I think historically gummies has been a large segment in the West. It's not worked for India for a reason, and that is we have hot climate. So when you put gummies in a bottle, they stick to each other. I think we were one of the first to innovate and put each gummy into a pillow pack. And what that did is solve this problem.
Correct.
So that little bit of innovation was a game changer in what it did. Third is, while we wanted a form factor which would be fun, we want to also balance it to say it should be good for health. And we were able to innovate on the gummy substrate. So we use something called chicory, which is a plant grown in Europe. And that is what we use as our substrate. What that does is a few things. First of all, it has no added sugar. It's fully natural product. It's a great prebiotic, so it's excellent for your gut. And that again is something that got a lot of appreciation from consumers, because you're solving another side problem, which is a bonus, yes, and is great for your health.
One of the points that Dhyanesh touched upon in this when we sat down was that we didn't want to make the consumer feel like he has a disease, right? We are trying to solve for elective health.
Right.
We want to make the process of enhancing your health enjoyable. Right. He also talked about how gummies, if kept together, would stick to each other. Can you dive deeper and give me insights around how gummies were formed? What did we think about it? How we innovated on this front?
That was the first project. So idea was, how do we make supplements very interesting for consumers to take, because the core insight was, अगर एक ही चीज़ आपको बार बार लेना है, it should not feel कि यार मैं patient हूँ. So that is where the core insight कि यार how do we make the journey much more pleasant. I think gummies was a new concept for India. There was a market which existed largely in US, and most of them were gelatin based. And they were very suited to a non-humid, non-hot weather. इंडिया में स्पेसिफिक प्रॉब्लम था कि यार इतना 45 डिग्री गर्मी का टेम्परेचर भी है और 2 डिग्री माइनस टेम्परेचर भी है नॉर्थ में. सो देन वन ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम वी सॉल्व फॉर इंडिया वाज कि यार इट कैन नॉट बी गोइंग विदाउट एनी प्राइमरी पैकेजिंग, वेयर इन यूएस द एंटायर मार्केट इज ऑन the packaging is without any primary packaging. So we said, if the gummies have to be stable in all weather condition in India, we have to innovate on packaging.
But in the consumer's mind, because it's new in India, how did we ensure that they are safe and effective for the consumer?
Sure. I think great question, and this is the bedrock of any product, right? Everything is fine as long as it's actually helping the consumer, and that goes without saying. So I think we spent a lot of time on research and development in the early years on this product. We have a team of combination of scientists and doctors who worked on this to get the product right. Once we had done that, there was a good amount of safety testing which was done. We also conducted extensive clinical trials where we had about 60 consumers in a large hospital in Pune who went through a 3-month process of consuming the product and a placebo group that did not, and observing any health impact that was there and any benefits that were accrued. We were able to conclusively establish that there is a meaningful benefit people are seeing in their outcomes. Third is the sourcing of the raw materials. So today, most of our raw materials are sourced from very established sources from places around the world. Saying our chicory or inulin comes in from a specific place in Europe, which is the best in the world for that. Our multivitamins are sourced from very specifically selected manufacturers. Our herbal ingredients that we have are again selectively picked up from a few places. Like there were actually a few ingredients which we wanted to put but we dropped because we could not find a source which we were fully comfortable with.
I think there are two things which have been very, very core to us. One is the choice of actives which we make sure which are going to go inside the gummy. And secondly, we were very careful on a day zero. While we are going to deliver these actives, we should not use something which is going to harm the body, whether it is sugar or something else. So from the choice of actives which basically do the job of let's say hair fall reduction, we looked at all the supplements which were there in the market, which are recommended by Dermat and which have received very good feedback, right? And then let's say there was a product called Folly Hair in the market, and we looked at that this was well regarded amongst Dermat. Why don't we deliver the actives which are there in Folly Hair in a gummy format, right? And it contained, of course, biotin. It had vitamin D3 or vitamin D, not D3, B12 and B complex, entire vitamin premix, mineral premix, which is designed for supporting hair nutrition. And of course, biotin is key component in it. So that's where we started the journey of selecting those actives. And when it comes to bases, we also realize that a lot of tablet capsules have a lot of fillers in it, which nobody declares on the pack. Like एक टैबलेट आपका मल्टीविटामिन टैबलेट जो लाल कलर का होता है, उस पर रेड कलर का कोटिंग होता है, विच इज़ एन आर्टिफिशियल कलर. देयर इज उसमें एक स्टेरिक एसिड और एक फिलर्स जाते हैं जो जिससे वो आपका 1.5 ग्राम के टैबलेट में सिर्फ 200 mg एक्टिव होगा, 100 mg एक्टिव होगा. 90% ऑफ इट इज फिलर ओनली, which nobody talks about it, and it still is artificially going in your body. So on day zero, this thing is we will not use any artificial colors, will not use any artificial flavor. We will make the gummy completely natural. We will not add any sugars to it, and that's where we worked on कि यार हमें एक base ऐसा चाहिए which is completely free of this, and that's why we came up with the current base which has, I think it not apart from actives, it gives you 4 gram or 3.5 grams of prebiotic fiber. So that's where we landed up.
Can you touch upon those studies which kind of explain that these are actually good?
Clinical studies are done in a setup where you hire professional third-party agencies in a very ethical and in a very professional setup which is governed by a set of protocol. You conduct a scientific experiment which is on a decent sample size of around, you can say 50 to 100 individuals taking participation in it, which go through a journey for 3 to 6 months, and then they record each parameters which is important for the study's clinical efficacy. So when it comes to efficacy, I think we are the only product, I would say, in the market which has done a gold standard clinical study. When I say gold standard, we have actually done this study of our biotin gummies with comparison to a placebo group. So we had taken 60 volunteers. We have taken 20 of them were placebo. So 20 of the volunteers didn't knew it was a blind placebo that they are taking a gummy which did not have actives, and 40 were taking a supplement which they also didn't knew what is they are eating. And every month we took pictures of their scalp. They took pictures. We took questionnaire. We did a lot of tests like the hair fall test, in which you would comb your hair in a specific duration, in a specific stress, or I would say at a specific pressure point, and you'll see how many hair fall have fallen on a white paper. And that's how you go very, very deep into figuring out, collect all data, and then what we found at the end of it, we realized that if there are 100 strands which are falling on day 0, the strands were reduced to 50 or 48 to the guys who have completed a 3 months protocol. And it was all seen in all male or female who have taken it. But when it came to the placebo group, that number was nowhere, it was any significant. If the number was 100, after 3 months there was a number of in between 80 to 90, which was very different than the people who had the active gummies taken. So, and that's why we are very confident on the efficacy of the product being taken.
We got a job application, and this individual is still working with us actually, and he said that I've used these products and I think this is just magical. I want to now come in and be part of this and help hundreds and thousands of other people. And this individual had a CV which had I can't remember now, but probably 6 months of experience in an unrelated area. And we were like, what will he do for us, because it doesn't really fit into any of our requirements at this point. We said, yeah, the guy just clearly has passion to solve this problem. And he joined us, and now it's been almost 5 years and he's still with us. Movement from being a consumer to now being an employee, hitting 5 years with us is I think something which was very interesting.
One last question. It's not even a question, it's like, what would you want to say to, like, that is a young man, probably in his early 20s, who hasn't started or doesn't have the full knowledge and is just exploring options, right? Probably facing hair fall. What would you, as an elder statesman, right, what would your advice be to that person? If you can imagine there, it's him. What would you say to that person?
I would say a few things. I would say, first of all, whatever small problems, health concerns you have, it's not the end of the world. I think it's okay to be Vin Diesel and have no hair, for that matter. Right? I think it's absolutely fine. I think it would be great if we can all learn to just be comfortable with who we are. And it's perfectly fine who we are. None of us are perfect. I would not lose sleep worrying about, oh my God, I have a little bit of this problem, I have a little bit of that problem. Life will go on, problems will come and go. One should not get overly consumed by these problems. It's very easy to say, very hard to do. I've myself been victim in my younger days of doing this. So it's very rich of me to just pass this advice. But if I look back at my younger days, one thing I would change is I would have been kinder to myself. And I think if I was talking to my 20-year-old self, I would say just be kinder to yourself, and everything else will take care of itself.
I'm someone who's gone through hair loss, went from stage 1 to stage 4, came back to stage 3, and right now I'm titillating between stage 3 and 4. We learned so much about how gummies are developed. We learned so much about what can be done to stop hair fall. But there are a lot of people who are on stage 2 or more. People who have started noticing balding on their crowns. People who can notice the scalp being visible on their hair. If you are someone who's facing this and you want to know what can be done to improve it, stay tuned for the next episode.